we're gonna tackle some fantasy football because I know everybody loves
it.
everybody
That's
loves
a
fantasy
pun.
football. It's almost that time of year again, and so we're gonna start it off with the quarterbacks because it's the most important position.
I think that we can all just say our first guy on 3 pretty much because it's gonna be the same,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Like
3,
we all have Aaron Rodgers number 1, right?
3,
Yeah.
2, 1. Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. Oh, I missed it.
Eli, what'd you get?
I got Joe Webb.
Oh. Eli's a
No.
little slow. Okay.
Aaron Rodgers is, when healthy, he's just by far the most talented and the best fantasy quarterback. Especially in fantasy, he also gets rushing touchdowns. So and with those being worth more, you really can't ask for much more out of a quarterback.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and he's got, I don't know.
He has some weapons.
He kind of lost some help with Jordy leaving, but he still has Devontae Adams and Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
Which he usually doesn't throw to tight ends, but I mean it's Jimmy Graham. He's gonna use them no matter what. You can't not use Jimmy Graham unless you're Russell Wilson in the first season. But I'm not gonna go into that.
Well, he does use tight ends, but the thing is, he usually doesn't use one tight end very consistently.
Yeah.
All right, so Will, you want to do number 2?
My number 2 is Russell Wilson, and I said that because he can run, he can throw, and the Seattle Seahawks offense goes through him, and he will get the ball not get the ball the most because obviously, but the offense will run through him, and he'll just throw a lot.
Yeah, because he has to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that concerns me for Russell Wilson is that he only really has Doug Baldwin, Jermaine Kearse a little bit. I think
Doesn't have Jermaine Kearse.
Never mind. He's
on
one
the
guy.
Jets.
Yeah, he's another guy, but he's all right. And he has no O-line, and his running backs are subpar at best. I know they drafted
Penny.
Yeah, so he could be good, but as of now, their running backs are just subpar at best. So he doesn't really have a lot of help, but he usually puts up good stats.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do my number 2 next. This is Jonathan Lakin, if you'd like to search me up. But my
What's your
number
ad
2
on Twitter?
is what?
What's your ad on Twitter?
I don't remember.
Don't at me.
My number 2 will be Cam Newton. He was number 2 overall last year in points and former MVP. He just, the ability for him to get, he is probably the most trustworthy quarterback when it comes to rushing yards and touchdowns. He's just used so much in their offense, and he also has a cannon of an arm. I think that he's just one of the best choices when it comes to a quarterback.
Yeah, I actually like their receiving core and what they're doing with their offense.
Yeah, I like, and they've got Christian McCaffrey, who I think will have a much bigger role this year and play a lot better. I like their offense as a whole as well.
Does his interceptions scare you at all? Because he threw 16 interceptions last year to 22 touchdowns. Does that scare you at all?
Well, I mean, also he had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rushing touchdowns. So not really. If he's my quarterback, in real life, as a coach or something, it does. But in fantasy, not really.
And then he did have Greg Olsen was hurt for most of the season, so he'll be getting him back.
Yeah, he'll be coming back.
How's
I just
their
really
offensive
like
line?
them.
Well, they lost Andrew Norwell.
Yeah.
But they do have Try Turner. They have the Khalil brothers. I would actually, Darrell Williams, their right tackle, he is hurt. I don't know how long he's hurt. I guess I could check that. But he was second-team All-Pro last year, so that could be a big loss if he's out for a long time.
I do like the receiving situation, like how Eli said. That's
right.
an interesting second choice, I'd have to say.
All right, so I'm going to go number 2 now. My number 2 is Tom Brady. I mean, it's pretty boring, and
Does age scare you?
I don't think so. I think if he was starting to get hurt or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's close. I don't know. It's close between him and some other guys, but I just put him at number 2 just because I feel like he's the safest bet.
That's how I feel. Most of these quarterbacks at the top, you can kind of just take your shot, and then you'll get about the same results.
Yeah, that's why like a lot of people don't suggest taking quarterbacks until like the 5th round, because you get 1 through 12, like they're still going to be getting you within like an average point or two, like their averages. So like,
unless it's Aaron Rodgers,
which I would suggest taking Russell Wilson number 6 if you play in our fantasy football league, because a lot of people do that.
Wait, what did you say?
I said I would suggest taking Russell Wilson number 6.
Stop.
That happened.
I'm just kidding. Johnny, do you want to say your third?
My third. What?
Real quick, Darrell Williams tore his MCL.
Oh, so he's going to be out for most of the season?
I don't know if it's the whole season, but yeah.
My third is... It's kind of tough to pick, but I think I'm going to go with Russell Wilson, and then I know who I'm going with 4. Like Will said, like he's just, the rushing game is there, which is always like a huge thing for quarterbacks in fantasy, and then he just always seems to make a play happen.
Yeah.
You know? Like, there's those highlights where like you're like, oh, that's a sack, and then he just throws a bomb down the field. And losing Jimmy Graham, I think, is going to hurt him. Like, if he would still have him, I would put him like maybe 1 or 2, but losing him, I think, was a big hit. And then his O-line is still garbage.
Yeah. With Jimmy Graham, Jimmy Graham caught 10 touchdowns.
Yeah. They have a rookie running back who I think they might use, so that might take some of his usability down, but like overall, I think he's just a really solid choice.
Well, with Penny, isn't Penny a like quick receiving back too?
I believe so.
So I think that'll help him.
Yeah.
My third quarterback is Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees consistently always gets a ton of yards, a ton of touchdowns. I would always be confident with selecting him. The only thing that scares me is injury and his age. But I think this is one of the better teams he's had in the recent years. So I think his stats will just get better. Because he has Michael Thomas, which Michael Thomas is an absolute beast. And then the 2 running backs, even though Mark Ingram is suspended, I think he'll get a lot of stats and he'll get a lot done for his team.
Yep. All right, Eli, who are you taking?
My third quarterback is Russell Wilson, just like yours. I don't know. I don't know. The offensive line, from a fantasy perspective, it doesn't scare me as much just because he's been all right with it pretty much. It couldn't get much worse, and he's been all right. The receiving core...
He can take a hit.
I mean, they brought in Brandon Marshall and Jerron Brown, who was on Arizona.
I forgot about them.
So those are... I mean, I don't know. But like I said, it's... Like you guys say, it's not necessarily about them. It's about Russell.
Yeah.
And as long as he's healthy, he's a beast, so...
I agree.
So, Johnny, who's your number 4?
My number 4 is going to be Carson Wentz.
Okay.
He was the 5th best quarterback last year in points, and he didn't play his final 3 games because he got hurt. Like, he was just putting up insane numbers all throughout the year. Like, he would have been the number 1 quarterback last year if it wasn't for his injury. He's... Like, the only question is how he's going to bounce back from injury, but still, I think that the Eagles have a really good team around him, and he'll still be able to put up really, really good numbers.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As my number 4, I would also say Carson Wentz. And if you're worried about his injury, the return date's about week 1, hopefully. That's a good return date. That's everybody's been saying. So I wouldn't be worried about the injury too much. Maybe a little rust coming in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I think he'll be good. And like you said, he can rush. He can move around in the pocket. He makes good decisions. Only 7 interceptions to his 33 touchdowns. And 4,000 yards. Wait, no. 3,300 yards. He got hurt in week 14. So those are some great stats for him. Eli?
My number 4 is Drew Brees. The Saints brought in what's his name, Malcolm Floyd today, and Drew Brees. I don't know I wouldn't ever predict a Drew Brees drop off until it's kind of clear cut, but it does kind of scare me, which is why he's not higher. Just because you can kind of see sometimes he just doesn't have the arm strength that he used to. He might not be old Drew Brees, but he's got talent. So,
I'm going to go with my number 5. My number 5 is Tom Brady. Eli talked about Tom Brady before. Tom Brady has good stats every single year. He's not that injury prone. He's getting older, but I think it's not really too high. It's like a medium risk with super high reward with Tom Brady. If you believe in him, then I think he'll pay off well.
What? You just have to believe?
Yeah, like if you believe that he won't get hurt, like if you believe that he can be a good quarterback, and like
then he might be good.
If you're not worried about if you believe that he's not going to get hurt, then I would take the chance. I would take the chance on him.
Yeah.
My next one will also be Tom Brady. Like Eli said, it's not like a sexy pick or anything, but like he's just like very good at the whole football thing. Eli.
Yeah. My number 5 is Cam. I don't know. The Panthers, I don't know if I love them as a whole, but I like Cam, especially in fantasy. We've seen him score 50 touchdowns in one season, and so I'm not saying he's going to do that, but he's obviously he's got the ability to go out and score points.
Johnny, who's your number 6?
My number 6 is going to be Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
I think he had a phenomenal year last year with a much worse team. Now he's coming in with Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, and Stephon Diggs. Both those receivers were very high on the receiving yards list last year. I think he's coming into a much better situation. I don't know if that'll make the Vikings a whole lot better, but I do think his stats will slightly improve.
Yeah. Eli, who's your
6? 6, I have Carson Wentz. Like you guys said, he was super good. He probably would have won MVP last year if he stayed healthy. He'll probably regress just a little bit based off of just the fact of how good he was last year.
Yeah.
Wait, I have a question.
He's still talented.
Carson Wentz didn't win MVP, didn't it? Who did win MVP?
Tom Brady.
No, I think it was Nick Foles because he's a GOAT. No, I'm just kidding. My number 6 is Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan he has a really good offense around him, and he usually does really good. He had that MVP season 2 years ago, and I think he can return, which last season was good for him too, so I think he'll just build off that again.
7.
Yeah. Johnny, do you want to go?
Yeah, my number 7, I don't know.
Well, my number 7 is Cam Newton. A lot lower than yours, but I don't know if I believe in Cam Newton as much as you guys do. I don't like his team as much, like his surrounding cast, and I think he needs a good surrounding cast for him to be great. But I think he's a good quarterback, and he will put up good stats like he usually does because he can run. The only thing that I worry about Cam Newton is him getting hurt, which I know he's a tank, but he just keeps taking hits and hits and hits, and one day his body's going to give up.
Well, he has missed time before, so.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me is Cam Newton and interceptions, but his rushing overtakes his interceptions.
My number, what is it, 6 or 7?
7.
7.
Drew Brees, like I said, he's almost always really reliable and a good player. He's got a good team, so yeah.
All right, my number 7 is Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan didn't have a very good year last year. He didn't score over 20 points all year in fantasy, which is surprising. But I think I think this year...
Average points, he was number 15.
Yeah, he's consistent, and I think his stats will be better. Just because, I don't know, that might be a bit of a reach. But I think that their personnel, they're bringing it back. They got a lot of familiarity there. They added Calvin Ridley. And, yeah, they've been a pretty good offensive team for the last 2 years, even though they weren't what they were 2 years ago last year.
Johnny, who's your number 8?
It's going to be Andrew Luck.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah. I think that he will come back from injury big time, and I think that he still has the chemistry with T.Y., and I think that he's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. It's probably some homer coming out, but still, I think that he is still one of the best QBs.
I think it's funny that you say you have Andrew Luck, because I have Andrew Luck too. What a little coinkydink.
Well, you know what's funny? I actually have Andrew Luck at 8 as well.
Wow.
I thought you guys were going to call me crazy.
No, I thought you were going to have Andrew Luck at like 5 or 6, but no, I think 8's good. Because he's had like 2...
There's still a chance that he's going to shake off rust. And,
yeah, I know, but he's been hurt for like 10 years.
I just think his ceiling is higher than most of the players below.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, T.Y. is still there. They have great chemistry, and I think Andrew Luck's just a good quarterback. And he was putting up great stats with the terrible offensive line, and now the Colts have a good O-line. So
good
I think
is a stretch. I'd say
they have talent.
Above the league's average is better.
Yeah, I would say that too.
We're still young.
Yeah, I would say that too. But I do think Andrew Luck will be good, and I think he's rehab for 600 years, 500 years.
Yeah, he hasn't played football since
I'm surprised he's not a dad with
last time
grandkids.
I think was Peyton still around last time Luck was playing?
I don't know. I really don't know. But I think Andrew Luck, I don't think he'll have any problems. I think he's elite enough where he won't shake off for us too much. He won't have a curve period again. So we all had the same.
Number 8.
No, number 9.
No, I meant we all had the same number.
Yeah,
8.
we all have the same number 8. My number 9 is Kirk Cousins. Like what Johnny said, he didn't have a very good team with the Redskins, and now he's going to the Vikings with Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, and good O-line. Dalvin Cook, who's coming off an ACL injury.
My number 9 is Phillip Rivers. I think that I'll do it. I think that year in and year out, he usually doesn't get super high point games, but he's always really consistent.
One thing I would like to add to Kirk Cousins is the only thing that I worry about Kirk Cousins is that he'll be in lower scoring games because he has a good defense, and I don't think they'll have to put up 40 points a game to win.
Yeah.
So I don't know if his stats will be super high. So that'd be the only thing. I think he'll do good, but I don't know if he'll have the stats to blow out, to do extremely good, if that makes sense. Eli, who's your...
Number 9?
Yeah.
Number 9, I got old Dak. I got Dak, number 9. It might be a bit of a reach. But I like the rushing touchdowns. He's had 6 in his last 2 years. Both of them, so he's got 12 total.
Really? That's a lot.
Yeah. He doesn't get a ton of yards rushing the ball, but he scores. So that's really what's important there. And, he's a low turnover usually,
With Zeke coming back, it should be that way.
So he might, I don't know. I don't think you're going to be looking at Dak to be the number 1 fantasy quarterback. But, if some of these top-tier guys are gone, I think you'd be comfortable with Dak. So.
Yeah.
That was your number 10, right?
Yeah,
that was your number 9.
9.
My number 10 is Phillip Rivers, consistently over the years. He has good receiving corps. And he has a good receiving core around him. And I think he'll just be able to do what he does and air it out. Melvin Gordon can rush and take some pressure off him. And I just think Philip Rivers is a good, safe bet for your team.
He's kind of turnover prone, though, isn't he?
My number 10 is, drum roll, please, Matthew Stafford.
Right. Okay.
Well, yeehaw, mine is too.
Yeah, he usually makes big plays happen, and he's just, generally speaking, good at being a quarterback.
Yeah. He's going to have up and downs.
But... Yeah, definitely. He was number 7 last year, but he scored 10 points twice, 11 points once. He definitely goes down. But he also had 27-point games, 2 of those, and it looks like a 22-point game and a 21. So, he has his ups and downs. Not necessarily like I was talking about last time with Philip Rivers, who is consistently going to put up good numbers. But Matthew Stafford is kind of a boom or bust guy.
Yeah. I like Stafford. Also, I feel like for fantasy purposes, the Lions are going to be in a lot of close games because they're a good team, not a great team. So by that, they're just going to be in a lot of games where he's going to have to try to win the game or come back or, whatever the case may be.
Will?
What?
Number
Who's your 10?
My number 10?
Wait, did you do 10 already?
Yeah, my 10 was Philip Rivers.
Oh, that's right.
And then...
I think that we should cut off at 10.
Well, I was going to say my next 5.
Just run them off?
Okay,
just run them off.
Let's do that.
My next 5 is Matt Stafford, Deshaun Watson, Derek Carr, Jimmy G, and Dak Prescott. One thing that stands out is Deshaun Watson. I feel like a lot of people are high on, but the whole injury kind of scares me.
Yeah.
Eli, your next 5?
I go Jimmy Garoppolo at number 11, and then number 12, Big Ben. Number 13, I have Alex Smith, who was the 4th best last year. And then number 14, I have Jared Goff, and number 15, I have Dak as well.
Any key points?
Just one is Alex Smith is somebody who slept on last year. I'm sure he'll be slept on this year. He put up crazy numbers last year, and I don't know if he'll be able to replicate all of those, but definitely I think that the Redskins aren't a bad system to be in. Kirk Cousins could put up big numbers, and he was able to do it with fast guys, so I think Alex Smith should be able to do pretty well in Washington. Obviously not top 4 like he was last year, but...
Yep. All right. So my remaining 5, I got Alex Smith, then I got Philip Rivers, Jimmy G. I actually have Tyrod Taylor, and then Kirk Cousins.
Does Baker Mayfield scare you with Tyrod Taylor?
Yeah, but I feel like the talent around Tyrod Taylor, I don't know. Maybe...
You think Tyrod will start enough to be that high?
I think when Tyrod Taylor starts...
Yeah, it's a valid point. I think it's all about patience, not necessarily from the head coach, but from the organization as a whole. Because if the Browns start off 1-5 or 2-4 or something like that, there's going to be pressure to put Baker in, even if Tyrod isn't playing bad.
Yeah.
And I think that Tyrod will have really good stats, and I think it will do really good, but I still wouldn't want to draft him because they do have the number 1 pick.
Well, I just look at it like this, in the last few years in Buffalo, Tyrod's had players that really don't fit him at all. He's had Marquise Goodwin in Buffalo a few years ago, who was a deep threat, but that's not really Tyrod's game. He's had Kelvin Benjamin last year, who was a red zone guy, really also not necessarily what Tyrod's looking for. Now he's got Josh Gordon and Jarvis Landry, arguably the best slot receiver in the whole league to throw to. I think that suits him a lot more in an offense like Cleveland, where he's got some running backs and a decent O-line. So I think if he plays, I like him a lot. But like you guys said, it's a risk for sure.
And this has been No Facts Needed.
Should we say, give us a like or subscribe?
Yes.
What do we say?
We'll leave all of this in.
Okay.
Find something better to do.
Yeah. No, don't. listen to the other ones. I mean, you're already here.
Yeah, I mean, if you're already here, then just give us a like and a comment. And you don't even have to comment, just like us.
Even a dislike helps us
Honestly, yeah.
Okay, just subscribe.
If you dislike, at least I'll know you're there.
Okay, think about it. Subscribing does nothing for you.
If you dislike it, in YouTube's system, it treats it the same way. So if you didn't like the video, please let us know. You know?
Or I was thinking you could subscribe and then you can just mute us, and if you don't like us, just mute us, and you don't get any of these things, but it still helps us. If you feel nice.
Nobody's gonna do that.
Or
what do you think, these people are idiots?
You could actually subscribe and then turn on your post notifications so you can get all the videos that we make.
Ring that bell.
Ring, ring, ring.
Smash that like button.
All right, well, this has been No Facts Needed.